Okay, you have your NFL playoff predictions, Christmas edition. So after week 16. So we're starting off with the AFC, so division winner, and I believe the supposed winner of the number one seed in the AFC. I have the Baltimore Ravens. Um, their team is looking really good right now. They're currently number one in the AFC with an 11-3 record. Their defense has been playing great. They have a top five offense and top five defense. Their schedule coming off definitely not favorable. They're playing the Niners, then the Dolphins, then the Steelers. All three games I can see the Ravens winning, but I can also see the Ravens losing. I believe the Ravens will lose to the Niners, but then beat the Dolphins and Steelers, so that will guarantee them a number one seed since they beat the Dolphins. Ravens right now looking like the favorite for the number one seed. And number two, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. They have by far the most favorable schedule, and they have tiebreakers, I believe, over the Dolphins and the Ravens, maybe. They have three really easy games coming up, and even though the Chiefs have not played the best, their defense, I think, is still very dominant, and their offense is at least competent enough to beat bad teams. With tiebreakers over the Dolphins, I expect the Chiefs to get the number two seed. And number three seed, I do have the Dolphins winning the AFC East but losing tiebreakers to the Chiefs, therefore getting the number three seed. They have a really tough schedule coming off with the Cowboys, Ravens, and then the Bills, most likely for the AFC East title. I do see the Dolphins beating the Bills and the Cowboys, but unfortunately losing to the Ravens will cause them to drop. Seeding Dolphins, their offense looking really explosive right now. Tyreek Hill, Waddle looking great. The Dolphins do have injury concerns, and that is really concerning, but I don't predict injuries. But the Dolphins also have a top five offense, top five defense, so I expect them to win the AFC East. Number four seed, I do have the Indianapolis Colts winning the AFC South. I have them winning over the Jaguars and the Texans. Texans with that CJ Stroud situation, I just can't pick them to win the AFC South. And the Jaguars, I think the Colts will win out. They have a pretty easy schedule against the Falcons, Raiders, and Texans. And the Colts, I think, have been playing the best ball these last month. Their offense is looking great, and their defense, even though not the greatest, has had their moments. Um, so I do have the Colts getting the number four seed and winning the AFC South and winning out. Number five seed, I have the Cleveland Browns. Um, they've been playing really, they've been playing really good football as well. Joe Flacco is what the Browns needed, and in the quarterback, the offense has been competent and their defense has been great. They have a game lead over every other team in the hunt, so I expect them to get a number five seed. And they have a decently easy schedule coming up with the Texans, Jets, and Bengals, so I expect them to get the number five seed. And then number six seed, I do have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're on a three-game losing streak right now, and they're tied for number one in the AFC South right now. But they probably have the least favorable schedule of the Texans and the Colts. They have a tough game up against the Bucks, which I do think they will drop, and then they have a couple easy games in the Panthers and Titans. But Jaguars, they just haven't been playing great ball. They haven't been playing these great ball these last couple of weeks. Trevor Lawrence clearly looks injured. ETN hasn't played as well, so I just don't see the Jaguars winning the AFC South. And then the number seven seed, I have the Buffalo Bills. I originally had the Houston Texans at this seed, but with CJ Stroud out against the Browns, I think the Texans will just miss the playoffs, and the Bills will sneak in, even with losing to the Dolphins, which I predict. Bills, they've probably been like the second best team in the AFC these last 2 3 weeks. Josh Allen is somewhat limiting his turnover, but that run game has really gotten the offense started. And their defense, even with the injuries, has like gotten better. Bills, they have a pretty easy schedule against the Chargers and the Patriots. It all comes down to that final week game against the Dolphins, and I think the Dolphins will win that. So there you have it. And then the NFC. Number one seed, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Their team is just looking very, very dominant right now. Defense, like one of the top defenses, a very good offense, possibly MVP candidate Brock Purdy. They do have a couple of tougher games coming up against the Ravens and the Rams, kind of. But I expect the Niners are just playing too good right now. And they have tiebreakers over the Cowboys and the Eagles, so they ain't gonna jump them. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys in the number 2 seed. Um, they they just coming off a loss against the Cowboys, but their team, I still have trust in their team, especially at home. Cowboys, Dak has still been playing very well. Wide receivers have done well. Their defense, outside of their run defense, has done well, and they do have a very tough schedule coming off with the Dolphins, Lions, and then and then I believe the Commanders is their last game. But I expect them to lose to the Dolphins and then beat the Lions and beat the Lions and the Commanders, which I believe will give them that win in the NFC East. And number 2 seed. Then number 3 seed, I have the Detroit Lions. They could have had a good bounce back game versus the Broncos, but that can't. But over the last month, they have not played well. I think their defensive injuries have been a problem, and hopefully they get healthier. The offense is still very good. They also have a very tough schedule coming off with the Vikings twice, a divisional rival is really hard to tell, and the Cowboys. And I expect the Lions to have maybe 2 losses against the Vikings and the Cowboys, but that should be enough to win the NFC North and get the number 3 seed. And number 4, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the NFC South. Buccaneers by far have played the best ball out of the whole NFC South. Baker Mayfield is very hot right now. Their offense looks great. Ricard White has done a lot better. Their defense, even though not playing great, isn't horrible. But all the Bucks, the Saints, and the Falcons all have pretty easy schedules coming up. But the Bucks have the best team, so I'm taking the Bucks to win the division. And in your wild card, at number 5, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're probably the favorite to win the NFC East right now, but I just can't trust the Eagles right now. Their defense looking bad. Their defensive line is still good, but their secondary looks horrible. Their offense, Jalen Hurts, I don't know why I think he forgot how to pass the ball. He has not looked good since that Bills game. And the Eagles just have too many problems right now that I think the Giants will upset them in one of their games, and that will cause the Eagles to lose the division. But they have a massive lead over any of the wild card spots, and they're a better team than any team in the 6 or 7 seed, so they should easily get the number 5 seed. Or yeah. Number 6, I have the Seahawks making it. Seahawks by far have a very easy schedule coming up with the Titans, the Steelers, and then the Cardinals. I expect them to win out and then get the final wild card spot. They've been playing better these last couple of weeks. They hang around with the Niners. They almost beat the Cowboys and they beat the Eagles. That offense I think is still very good, and that defense does have their moments. They're definitely an inconsistent team, so hopefully they don't fall into a trap game. But I expect the Seahawks to win out and get a playoff spot. The number 7 seed and the final seeding, that would be your Minnesota Vikings. Definitely not the easiest schedule or the best team. They have 3 divisional games, 2 against the Lions, 1 against the Packers. Nick Mullins, he's kind of a gunslinger. I expect the Vikings to drop at least a game, but I think that will be just enough to make the playoffs over tiebreakers over the Rams. Vikings, their defense has surprisingly played a lot better this season. I think that's the Brian Flores effect. And their offense, as long as they can play somewhat competent football, I expect their offense to do better with Justin Jefferson back. Another team I consider for the number 7 seed, but just didn't get in, would be the Rams. But that Rams Week 18 game versus the Niners, I think the Rams are going to lose. They always lose to the Niners, and I think that will cost them a playoff spot. But if the Niners bench their starters for the last game, the Rams could potentially sneak into the playoffs. But there you have it, my NFL playoff predictions.